much so that like
that they have to
the kids
put
are going to
that.
watch the show, so they shouldn't watch it if they're smoking.
Isn't that crazy? Like it's totally like Saw as far as like the violence and like just the thought of how like horrific it's bad. And then they put smoking. I was just like, wow, when did smoking become, part of getting shot in the head? And it's
Excuse me, where are they smoking? From what orifice? I mean,
the
that could be
cigarette.
something.
That's it.
Oh, okay. What
smoking,
orifice of the body? I'm asking.
just their
I was
mouth.
at a sex show in Thailand. I've seen that trick done.
I don't watch any of this stuff. It's too. I don't like scary stuff.
Oh no, I've seen and I've seen them spit ping pong balls out too and get them in a cup.
Somebody's drink next to me got one in it.
At a cuddle party, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
That's probably not in their rules.
Kevin, let's talk a little bit about your podcast that you are working on. It's called Comedy and Therapy.
Yeah, well, there's two different ones. I'm just building up and starting to interview people to talk who are comedians and talk about therapy, because comedy is not therapy is the premise, but there are lots of people who do comedy as their therapy. So you can rant and rave on stage about something, and if you make it funny, then in my idea, it means that you've worked through something, but you shouldn't do therapy on stage. You should go see a therapist and then work through your stuff. I work through mine in some ways too, and I run my bits by my therapist, and she thinks I'm funnier than anybody else because she's a nice, validating therapist and says nobody makes her laugh, but I make her laugh. But if I could actually make people on stage laugh at the same things, then I've worked through my trauma, my challenges, my relationship stuff enough. So the premise is to have people talk about what their view on therapy is, talk about a particular joke that they're like, this joke came from the work I do because I've done my therapy work, or I don't do therapy work and here's my joke because therapy's crap and doesn't mean anything, and then talk about that. So I've interviewed a few people to start do that, and I'm building it up to be able to see. But my more therapy one is Relationship Ready, which is a YouTube thing that I've launched for a few weeks, where I take a nugget of something that comes about relationships, and then talk about that and how you apply that in your life and stuff too. So that's the...
Well, I love the comedy therapy idea now, because, comedians, we're fucked up people. And I don't know one comedian who doesn't have issues. I don't know. I mean...
I don't know any people who don't have issues at all.
I agree.
Right, exactly.
I agree. But in the comedy
true.
community, it's what would you say, 99.9%? It's like crazy. But I do think you have got to have some issues to get on stage and have the balls to do it in general. I mean, it's crazy to even think of going up and solely entertaining people with just your voice. Like that is mind blowing when I step back and think about it. And, but I was told that me and Kevin have discussed this. If I get therapy, which I can't get therapy because I can't find a therapist. Me and Kevin have discussed this. There are none left because the TikTok generation has taken all the therapists. Every 16-year-old has a therapist. And I'm like, listen, you got a therapist because you think it's cool. Okay. I need a therapist because I'm truly fucked up. All right. So let's step back here and give us old people some slack. But it is great though that, the younger generation is getting therapy. But Kevin, it's so cool right now to have a therapist when you're a kid. I mean, my 16-year-old niece, it was like, I need a therapist. Everybody has to have, that's their age group.
Yeah.
Which is great for you, Kevin, because now you are like so sought after that.
Well, I don't want to be sought after by 16-year-olds who are just needing therapy, but apparently if that is a market. Because a lot of therapists now are just validating too, so I'm afraid that might be why therapy is cool, is because if you go in and say, my family's all messed up, and they go, oh, poor person, that is hard for you, that's just validating, and then they don't go, well, then how do you deal with your life and your family? And that's the actual therapy part, which if you're a decent therapist, you can do that, but there's not as much training for therapists, and there are lots of therapists who are just validating, so who knows what they get now, but we'll find you one. And And
So I was told that I needed to get therapy only because it would definitely help me with my comedy.
Yeah,
you
Jessica
know?
Kirsten said that, right?
Yeah, Jessica,
I've heard her
when
say that.
when she annihilated me in class that day. Which it was, I mean, it was, it was a good thing, but she was like, if you're going to self-deprecate that hard, you really have to dig way deeper and let the people know that you're okay with it before. And I watched a couple clips of her doing it, and it was amazing to watch her do it. Like, to get up and just, she's just so good at it, but her comedy is so like dark, you know what I mean? And she gets such hard laughs over that darkness that she talks about, because somehow she makes I've worked it out. I'm okay. You can laugh at this, and me and Kevin have discussed this to pieces. Like, the crowd has to feel that, the audience has to feel that you're okay before they're going to laugh.
Yeah, because the audience is not your therapist. The audience can't be your therapist.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Hopefully a good therapist teaches you skills, right? They're helping you how are you going to do self-care? How are you going to replace those skills?
Yeah. Well, the whole process of therapy is becoming more comfortable with the uncomfortable. So as a comedian, if you can be comfortable on stage, then that means you're more comfortable with the uncomfortable, and you can go darker and darker. And that's probably what she's trying to encourage you to do, is be like,
so
this is funny, but dark.
Yeah. Like, I'm doing like a lot of like the fat jokes, Kevin, that I have done over and over. And, I've done some of them every which way I can. And I mean, certain audiences, it works great. But other audiences, I have, people go, "Aw," and I mean, it's got to be funny. I don't want them to feel bad for me. You know what I mean? So what she was saying is, you have to let them know like why you eat. You have to get really deep with that, make it funny in the beginning, and then you can go 20 minutes of your strong material about your weight, and it will kill. But you need to address it first and let them know you are okay. I'm starting to like get it as I watch some of her clips when she talks about, I'm going to send you the one clip, Kevin, of her.
Right.
It's so amazing. Like, there's an empty table in front of her, and she just goes on this rampage about the whole club is full, but the front table is empty. Like, everybody in her life was never there for her.
But it's the same process of you're really comfortable and your jokes are funny about being a really bad lesbian, and you're really comfortable with being a bad lesbian. So you talk about that on stage, and that's funny. You have to be comfortable with being your size.
Yes.
As comfortable as that.
And I have to let them know that I am okay with it. It's when you're getting really dark, you have got to get that audience on your side so they don't feel sorry for you. Does that make sense, Jen and Teresa, not being comics, but
Oh, yes.
And you've probably seen it happen many times when you're watching stand-up and not even realizing like, oh, they made it okay for me to just laugh at this bad shit. You know what I mean? In their life. And you don't look at it as, that's what I'm currently working on. But that's why I was told therapy will help you get to the root of a lot of, how certain things made you feel. I don't know. I'm done with the therapist 19 years. I love her, but she's not very good. 19 years, look at me. I'm a mess. I feel bad. I mean, it doesn't look good for her. Years? My girlfriend's a therapist. It's not a good look for her.
But it's always hard to be a therapist to your significant other, right?
So that was one other joke I wanted to do, Kevin, is like, I've been with the therapist for 19 years. I know you're all judging her ability by just the first 5 minutes.
That took me way too long to figure out you were talking about.
I know. I was just like, wow.
I was like, what?
You guys,
insurance really covers you, Cindy.
You got to
change that.
Well, I would say it like my girlfriend is a therapist. We've been together 19 years. Now, after seeing me up here, you're judging her ability, her talent. You're saying she should have never got the degree. I mean, but she's not really a working therapist like Kevin. She's in administration now, so she don't care. She used to pull that shit. Well, how does that make you feel? Kevin, how often do you say that?
I don't say it in that way, but I say it all the time in lots of other ways. So.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah. Go
Kevin,
ahead.
are you in a relationship?
Am I in a relationship?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in a relationship.
So do you like therapy, like even not maybe to her, like is it stuff going on in your head while like, oh, clearly York did it? Like is that just automatically wired in your head?
That is an excellent question. I've been dating the same person for like 10, 11 months right now, but
This is a long time for Kevin.
Oh yeah,
He's on the biggest run I have ever seen. I love him dearly. It's like, Kevin, you've stuck with her right through the pandemic. You're doing great.
Yeah, but
you
there
have
are
to stick with her, like the pandemic, where you're stuck together in a house or something.
No. We
Okay.
went out and did things and built it despite the pandemic and all too, and it's good. But every relationship I've been in since I was married, and probably before I was married too, but I didn't realize it, was there's that point where you reach where like I figure out like are they trying to get more therapy out of me than they are what they're doing? Because as soon as you tell people you're a therapist, they like start telling you all their issues. So the way that I balance it is I tell them, I'm going to tell you all of my shit too. So
yeah, because
you
Kevin
can help me. Because otherwise
Yes.
it's one-sided. But I have a bit that I do about how I send a lot of my exes to a particular therapist that I do, and because they come to me even after we're done. And they come to me and they say, did you know, like, the whole time we were dating that I'm an alcoholic? Or did you know the whole time we were dating that I have anxiety? And I'm like, I knew, yes, but it's not my job.
Oh wow.
It's not my job to figure that out. So
Yeah,
the
this is why
one,
I could never date a therapist.
but if you're open with them about it, like the one I'm dating now, I'm like, you know, you're autistic, right? And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, you know that. You're on the spectrum. Most people are on the spectrum, but you are on the spectrum too. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. So
at what point when y'all were dating did you tell her she was on the spectrum?
I don't know, probably first couple of weeks.
Jesus Christ.
So I'm upfront and I don't pull
And
any
she's
punches back.
adorable. She is
Yeah, she's great. No,
absolutely
too.
adorable. And last couple times me and him have been together, she wasn't there. And I was like, Kevin, is she gone? He's like, no, she's still with me.
Is she dead? Is she gone?
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, and you know, a lot of the white blonde girls, sometimes they all look the same. And you know, sometimes Kevin would bring one around and I'm like, did I meet her already? Or is this a new
You
one?
gotta be careful, Cindy.
Oh,
Cindy, never use names.
That's
Never.
right. That's right.
I've had other friends of ours come up and say, oh, hi, whoever, and I'm like, no, that was the last one. No, this is the new one. You haven't met this one before. So
Let me tell you, McDreamy has no problem getting the milfs, okay? He's had every variety, but sometimes
I don't discriminate.
No, but sometimes they have a similar look. I'm not going to lie. And I get
Most
confused.
people have a thing they like, a certain look.
Yeah, the ones who stick around have a similar look. So yeah, and a similar job too. So I don't know.
Do they?
Yeah, they all own companies.
Do they all work together? I mean,
No, they're all different companies, but they all own companies. So
They all have Etsy shops.
some of them do. Yes.
That's a good one, Jen. They all have an Etsy store. Kevin hits them all. They all sell art on Etsy.
I know where to shop. Yep, absolutely.
Well, I like her, and I'm glad you're still with her. But no matter who you're with, I enjoy every minute. And I know for sure I'm with the same. I know her in my head now. So when I see her, I know.
Good.
Same
Yeah.
girl. But I did have a check on you last Friday. We're out. I'm like, she was out of town. So, Kevin, how was your birthday week? It was Kevin's birthday this week.
It
Oh,
was.
happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
happy birthday.
It's been a good week. In fact, I'm going to end my night having bed cake at the end of the night because she saved some cake for me to have at the end of the night. So I'm
Bed
just
cake?
there to
What's
do
Bed
that.
cake.
So-
I don't know, but she's all in
I know.
it.
Okay, this has gotten real personal here.
You have leftover cake and you just go to bed and eat it in bed before you do your show or sex or whatever else you're going to do. You eat
He's
cake.
having
Wait.
bed cake.
Better.
Wait, what kind of show do you do from bed? So confused what just happened there.
It's a podcast. No, it's not. It's not. Before you watch a show. So
Yeah.
yeah. So but it's been a good week.